everybody, and welcome back to the MadMaggs podcast. This is my third time doing this intro, so hopefully this sticks. I'm sitting here with Heather. We just got done seeing JoJo Rabbit. We just did a non-spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the movie, get out of this video, go see it, or go check out a non-spoiler review and then go check out the movie. But either way, you need to come back and hang out with us for the spoiler review. Leave us a comment if you've seen it, if you agree with our views. So, and our views are going to start right now. So, Heather, thanks for inviting me to this movie. If you didn't hear from the non-spoiler review, I was not planning on going and seeing this because I thought, it's a little weird seeing a comedy about Nazis and Hitler. Didn't feel comfortable with it. I was like, Heather's like, no, I'm gonna go see it.
Yeah, I was totally on board. Apparently that didn't bother me at all.
Which she's a huge Taika Waititi fan.
You got it.
This was like the 20th time I've tried to say it.
Yay.
Hit it. Yes. But
yes, I am a huge fan of his. I also like Inglourious Bastards is one of my favorite movies, so I'm kind of okay with the Nazi comedy, I guess. I don't know.
Another movie I haven't seen. I know you let me borrow it. I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm sucking out, catching up on movies.
That's okay. But yeah, I was all in on this movie from the get-go.
Yeah, so Heather's husband was originally planning on going and seeing it with her, but then he couldn't make it, so she invited me, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes before she's got to leave work, and I'm like, hey, by the way, you want to go to see this movie tonight? Because Jeff can't go.
Mm-hmm.
And
I can't tell Heather no.
It's the face.
Yeah, it is the face. It's the face with all the answers.
Yes.
So we were getting so they're letting people into the theater, and they stopped right at us. Of course
they did.
So they stopped right at us, and the people behind us are like, are they full? Are we
they
getting
have tickets?
in?
They have seats? Like they asked 50 times. I'm like, I don't know. I'm standing in line just like you.
Like they just said to stop here.
I made the mistake of telling them, yes, this is the line for JoJo Rabbit. So they thought I knew everything.
Oh yeah. I'm like, well, you do. You know everything at work. So
right.
Hey.
Well, okay.
It's like being back at work.
It is exactly.
But yeah, so it was. We did get in. We got great seats in the very front row.
Yeah.
I was on the very far right hand side. Heather was towards the left side. But yeah, we were in the very front row. It was a good time. Really enjoyed it. We had there was a Q&A after the screening with Thomasin McKenzie, who plays Elsa, the Jewish girl in the movie. And she was lovely too. So she was answered a couple questions and took a couple questions from the audience. She was really sweet. She was doing autographs after and taking pictures.
Yeah.
So
yeah, normally they'd kind of just skip out and don't do any of that. So I was kind of impressed by that, really.
Yeah, she was very sweet. So overall, this was a great movie. So I'm glad you invited me, because I was not planning on going to see it. Just because, like I said, it felt really uncomfortable. But as the impression that I got from the trailer was that Hitler was like an uncle or a relative of the little boy his name is JoJo. And so I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. But then as you're getting into the movie, you realize he's an imaginary character. This is a Hitler in the mind of a 10-year-old who worships Nazis and worships Hitler.
Right.
So
he's been indoctrinated into this Hitler youth. And, there's a line when he's talking to his best friend, and he says, no, you're my second best friend. My first best friend spot is reserved for Hitler.
Yes. Unless he's in a fat boy costume.
Yeah.
A fat little boy's costume.
Oh my God, the dialogue was so good.
You can't be Hitler. The dialogue was amazing.
Yeah. And so the whole time, especially at the beginning of the movie, because we're sitting at kind of opposite ends of this row, and I can see across because we're in the front. So I'm looking over and going, okay, she's laughing. We're good. She's not storming out of the movie and upset. So I'm good.
Well, it's just at the beginning of it, because they have a ridiculous opening scene, and I'm just like, oh, I feel so bad for laughing. But then as I realized that it's not actually Hitler. This is a kid's version of our hero, his hero.
Right.
And it's like imagining whenever you're 10-year-old, you play up your hero in your mind, and that's exactly what this kid did with Hitler. So it was a good rendition of how a kid sees their hero and how they would interact with them. And how their hero would interact with the kid, and it was
Plus the whole
so
like
good.
imaginary friend dynamic, that played really well into, or they played it very well, I guess I should say.
And Hitler's played by Taika too, so
Yeah,
and
he's
it's
so funny.
hilarious. Like, I mean, it is like the scenes that he was in was way over the top,
Yeah,
which was perfect for the scenes that he was doing.
for sure.
But then it's like everything outside of that was, a lot of scenes were kind of ridiculous, but a lot of scenes were grounded, and a lot of like it gets really real in some not episodes, but I'm sorry, but some scenes.
Yeah, it does.
And especially whenever Elsa comes out of hiding in the house.
That was intense.
Yeah, so
there was comedy in it, but it was still really intense.
Yeah, because I mean, here's this little boy who he's a self-proclaimed Nazi, and he's like, I'm gonna kill the Jew, and
right.
And then he's faced with one, and he's like, what is going on? And he comes to realization, like, it's his mom, who's played by Scarlett Johansson.
She was fantastic.
Yeah, let the girl in and letting her stay. Like, she is not like the war, and she's, it's his dad's not there. His dad is like, quote unquote, fighting for
Germany.
For Germany, but we find out later that he's really fighting the resistance.
Yeah.
So, but he never came into play.
No, we saw a picture of him on the wall when she saw the whole family, but that was really it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the movie is good. There's some really tense scenes in there. I want to bring up my favorite line that's always going to stay with me is like, so JoJo eventually decides that he wants to write a book because no one knows there hasn't been a book
about the Jews.
The truth about Jews and how they hang upside down like bats, and how they
crawled out of the caves, and they can read each other's minds, all this stuff that just,
and it's part of Elsa giving him bad information, of course, but
just feeding into his paranoia that he's already got.
Yes,
because he already thought they had horns, and
because
they were lizard people or something weird like that.
Well, and one of the questions, or one of the things that him and his friend was talking about was like, well, how will I know if I ever see a Jew? And the little boy JoJo is just like, I'll just feel around their head for horns, and it's just like that was like a legit thing that they thought about.
Yeah,
it's so crazy. But my favorite line is, she's writing in the book, and he's asking her, like, where do Jews live? Like, thinking that they hibernate somewhere, I don't know.
Right.
And she's like, well, I'll draw you a picture. And they're talking, and she's drawing, and she hands the picture back to him, and he's like, well, this is a picture of me. It's a picture of my head and stuff like that. He's like, where do you live? And she was like, in your head.
Yeah, that's where Jews live.
Yeah, that's where Jews live, is in your head. And I was like, that is such a good line, and that was such a good scene. That whole thing, I was like, that's fucking brilliant. So good.
It really was. There was a lot of good dialogue.
Yes.
And it went so quickly, from you're laughing to, oh my gosh, this is super serious, or just kind of shocking in some places. And there was almost a horror element there for a bit, like when he first goes into the closet or the cupboard thing, whatever she was in, you see the doll head like underneath the cabinet, or it was so weird. And you're almost like, and then she kind of plays it up because she's, sticking her hand around the door frame and coming down the stairs,
like with her hand kind of like a spider. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh shit, what's about to happen?
Right. So for a second, you see this little horrific image in the mind of the child, and you're playing that up, and I don't know. I liked that.
Yeah, that was fun. And that's what was funny about, that's what Thomason said, that so Taika, whenever she got casted, she's like, okay, I'm going to do a whole bunch of research about World War II and about the Jews and about Nazis. And
she went to some of the places, like some of the, one of the concentration camps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they did a whole bunch of stuff. And then whenever she told Taika, like, yeah, I did all this research, and he's like, oh, okay, that's great. I want you to watch Mean Girls and Heathers.
Yeah.
And so that way, and how Thomason explained it is that it was because you really don't know, they don't really go into Elsa's background. The only thing that you know about her is she's a Jew.
Yeah.
And she talks about her parents.
Knew his sister.
Yeah, knew his sister. Talks about her parents briefly. They got separated on a train. That's really all you get from her.
that train's going to a concentration camp.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even have to say that. Oh, well, that's it, you know?
Like, they're going to be gone.
Yeah.
I mean, she knew that too. And it was, that whole thing was just, it was so sad. But it was, he wanted, I think, her character to be kind of ambiguous. Like, kind of, there's a mystery there, but she toyed with him a lot.
Yeah.
She toyed with him because he was being a jackass.
He was,
but he's 10, so it's like he's brainwashed, and he's a kid on top of that, so he's really impressionable, and this is like what he's seeing, and so she kind of has to like fuck with him a little bit to get him to be like,
right,
like, hey, I'm a person.
Yeah.
And they do it so well. And Scarlett Johansson's character, she's she's part of the resistance. She's like hiding Elsa.
Yeah, she's JoJo's mom.
Yeah, JoJo's mom, and it's so good. And it's there was really great scenes in here. Like the comedy was great, but also the scenes that had to be more serious were really good.
Yeah,
there's a great balance there.
Yeah, I think so. And you're laughing, and then you feel guilty because you're like, I was just laughing, and now we're seeing all these people hung from what, scaffolding? I don't know what you call that exactly, but basically being hung to death for being resistance or being Jews or you know whatever. And you're like, but I was just laughing at something frivolous. How did we get from that to this so quickly?
Yeah, I think a lot of that was just to show, like, it can be, it's a normal day, and then you get back and you turn around and there's people that are being hung for being, like you said, part of the resistance or being a Jew, and it's like that was their normal back then.
And I did not see that coming. Throughout the movie, they focus on the mom's shoes, and in my mind, I'm going, okay, there's a reason for this, but I didn't put it together with what it was.
Yeah, I mean, and all throughout the movie, like, JoJo's 10, and like kind of the big joke is like he doesn't know how to tie his shoe, and so she's always tying his shoe.
She tied him together once. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But I'll let you finish.
And then he goes out and he's I don't remember.
He's like getting food, I think. He had a basket.
Yeah, he was getting food, and he gets to it's not really a stockade, but it's just kind of
like an alley or something.
Yeah,
like
but they they had the whatever thing up that they were hanging people from, and you don't even see anything other than her shoes just hanging there, on her feet, of course, but and instantly, because they stand out from everything. They're red, and everything else is kind of a drab color.
Yes.
And so you go, oh my gosh, like it just hits you.
Yeah, because he's getting food, and it's like really innocent, and then he sees a butterfly, and then he's following the butterfly for a couple.
I knew there was something, I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm sitting there like, oh my god, he's gonna be hit by a car.
I thought so too.
He's gonna be something bad's gonna happen. Like, I put my whenever I feel like those moments are happening, like I put my hands over my ears because I'm just like, I don't want to hear the sudden noise that happens. But there was no noise. Like he looks for the butterfly, and then the butterfly flies off to somewhere really quickly, and then he looks up, and there's her shoes. And they don't show her like being hung or anything, but the little boy just like grabs onto her feet, and he's like trying to tie her shoes.
Yeah, and he's can't.
upset. Oh my god, you talk about now.
I know,
it
was so upsetting.
It was that scene was done beautifully.
Yeah,
it was good. It's just,
it really was.
It's heartbreaking for being as much of a comedy as it is. It was absolutely heartbreaking some moments.
Yeah.
Another sad moment is with Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell was he starts off in the movie the kind of counselor, not really counselor, but he's like the head person at the youth camp that JoJo goes to.
Captain Klinzendorf.
Yeah, so he's like I was in the army, but then I got demoted to this stupid shit. And
he had like
he lost his eye or something. Yeah, and they're like, you can't be a Nazi in the war without two eyes, but can people do this? And he's just shooting random shit everywhere,
right? With like 5 different guns.
Yes, it is hilarious.
It is.
And then well, and then there's a scene later, like, he gets demoted because JoJo gets hurt because of something stupid that he did. And so he gets even further demoted to like an office job, and JoJo goes to work with him. So Sam Rockwell is in the movie throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, getting further and further demoted every time.
Yes, it is great. And but eventually, um, I think the Gestapo comes to JoJo's door, and they're like, hey, we're going to do an inspection, and like, we're going to come in. So they come in, and eventually, like, Sam Rockwell's character shows up with Alfie Allen, who's also in the movie.
Oh, he's funny too.
He's kind of like his protege, Sam Rockwell's protege, but I think like they made the indication that they're kind of lovers.
Yeah,
it was hilarious. That whole back and
great.
forth. And I mean, Alfie Allen looked a little buffer to
a little
me.
bit, yeah.
Like he looks like he got a little thick. So I was like, okay, Alfie, there you go. Get it done, son. After Game of Thrones, keep it going. But anyways, that their whole relationship is really funny too. But they come in, and Elsa comes out of hiding basically and tries to impersonate JoJo's sister who died.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, let me see your papers. So she gives the papers to Sam Rockwell, and he's like, well, what's your birthday? And she goes, May 1st, 19 something.
I don't remember.
And he's like, okay.
Yeah, you pass.
And the Gestapo never sees the papers. And then she reads the passport, and then she goes back in the cupboard where she was hiding, and she's like freaking out because she's like, her birthday is May 7th. I got her birthday wrong. They know they're gonna come back.
Yeah.
But they never come back. So basically Sam Rockwell, so it definitely seemed like he was part of the resistance, or just didn't want to be a part of it.
He had some kind of relationship with the mother.
Yeah.
It felt like, so. It was obviously a small community, so you kind of feel like everybody knew everybody anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of alluded to there was more between them there. Like,
yeah, because she just goes up after JoJo gets hurt and he goes to his office job.
Yes.
She walks right in and punches him straight in the balls.
Yeah.
And then she slaps the shit out of him while he's on the floor. So it's like, you can't just walk up to a Nazi officer and do that.
No.
So they definitely had to be
There's
something going on
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the Fraulein, whatever, Rom, I guess, Rebel Wilson's character.
Oh yeah,
she's kind of the other trainee at not trainee, but trainer at the camp, and so she pops up here and there in the movie as well. And at the end, she's just arming all the kids, and like she sticks a grenade in the back of a kid's belt and says, "Here, go hug the American." You know, and so it's awful, but it's I don't know, it's kind of funny. So she puts a Nazi uniform on JoJo because he's wearing just street clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the Americans are coming through, they're rounding up all the Nazis. And Sam Rockwell's character, he ends up with him, they're together. And the Americans are just taking people off to go shoot them, essentially. And Sam Rockwell knows what's happening, but JoJo hasn't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
So he, starts calling him a Jew, and he rips the jacket off of him and pushes him away.
Mm-hmm. And before he does that, he's like, I'm so sorry about your mom. She was a beautiful lady.
Yeah, he said she was a good person. And he was like, no, really a good person.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, he said something else. Now, of course, I can't remember. But, he's like, you got to run.
Mm-hmm.
And
JoJo didn't want to leave him there.
Yeah, ripped off the jacket. So get away from me, Jew. Mm-hmm. And he tries to spit on him, and JoJo's like, no. And
they just drag him off.
And then the shots ring out. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's awful.
It is, yeah. And JoJo takes off running. Ugh. And yeah, it's just,
there are so many good moments.
There really are. When he's running, like before all of that, when they're basically being attacked from all sides,
mm-hmm.
and he's running through all the rubble, and then he gets down and hides in that little area. It's so intense.
Yeah. Well, and to know his little friend is there too.
Yeah.
The little friend was so cute. I loved him so
he was.
much.
Yeah.
He kept calling his little fat friend
Yorkie. Archie Yates is the actor.
Archie Yates. That's so
he was
cute.
So good.
Oh, apparently this is his only movie.
Oh wow.
So very interesting.
I don't think it will be
he's
his only movie for long.
no, not at all, because he was such a good little character. He's like, it's no good time to be a Nazi.
Yeah.
And so it's a terrible German accent, but I mean, it's in the trailer. It's so cute.
Yeah.
And his little character is so good, and he's also
And they put him in this uniform that's
oh my god,
basically
huge.
paper. Yeah, and huge. And JoJo goes, "Is that paper?" And he goes, "No, it's paper like."
Yes, they say it's paper like.
And he goes, "It's so hard to run in this."
Oh my gosh, it's so good. This is really just a movie that you need to watch. It's really unique in the way where it has all this comedy and then it has all these intense drama moments, and everybody is so good. The whole the whole ensemble is just so good. It is just, it's a magical movie. Like, I didn't want to use that term. I really didn't want to use that term, but I was completely surprised with it just because, like I said, had no intention on going to see it because of the subject, but now seeing it and kind of realizing what it is, I'm like, I'm kind of, this makes me rethink, whenever I'm watching trailers, like, maybe this isn't what I really think it is. But it's so good. The kids are great, and the movie is really centered around the kids, so that was great. The dialogue is so good, and it's really quick quips everywhere, and you're laughing. So it's good to go back for a second go around, so that way you can hear the stuff that you might have missed the first time, because you're still laughing in a lot of scenes.
And we had a lot of audience reaction, like to the funny parts and the not funny parts, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I definitely heard some crying.
Yeah.
Like, especially whenever his mom,
whenever
they found his mom. Ugh.
Yeah. Apparently this is the actor that played JoJo's only credit as well. I thought he was phenomenal.
And is he actually German? Because
no, he's from the UK.
Oh my gosh, their accents were so great. The only one was Scarlett that I was just like,
right, but then you're like, I love Scarlett, so it's fine.
Yeah,
we'll forgive it.
It's fine. Like, Alfie Allen didn't have like a lot of scenes, but the scenes that he was in, he was so good in. Like, he did like a lot of non-verbal stuff, which was so good.
Yeah, so that kid's name is Roman Griffin Davis, and I think we'll be seeing more of him. He was phenomenal.
Yeah. He was very sweet. So the two main kids, like you said, Roman Griffin Davis, Thomas and Mackenzie, they're all really great. Alfie Yates, we'll be seeing them all again. Another big actresses, Scarlett Johansson, Taika, Sam Rockwell, Rebel Wilson, Alfie Allen, Stephen Merchant. He was the main Gestapo guy.
Yes.
They have to
he towered over Sam Rockwell.
Oh my god, that was funny. He, every time you walk into the room, Heil Hitler, and they did it like 20 times in one scene. It was like, oh my god, like somebody walks through the door, they have to all say it. There's like 5 Gestapo people there, 5 or 6,
and they all have to say it, and then they have to respond. And one of the questions in the Q&A afterwards was, how many times do you think that was said in this movie?
No, and they're like, well, you have to watch it again to find out,
right? Go back and count.
We were not counting. But yeah, overall great movie. I'm still kind of surprised by it. Like, I shouldn't be. I should have known that it was going to be great because of, Taika's directing. He wrote it based off of a movie, or wrote off of a book, Catching Skies, I believe is what it's called.
I think so.
That his mom gave him. So, because, we just watched a Jimmy Kimmel. He did an interview with Jimmy Kimmel, and he's like, well, your mom did you. How did she feel about you making this movie and starring in it as Hitler? And he's like, well, she gave me the book, so I'm sure I'm sure she was okay with it.
Yeah.
But overall, really good. What is your overall rating? I've gone on and on about it, and I'm not even the one that's super excited to see it.
I really loved it. It was exactly what I wanted it to be, and even better, probably. I had high expectations, and it lived up to them. So I would probably have to give it an A, maybe even an A+. I don't know, like really high. I really liked this movie.
It didn't have a lot of faults, for sure. For sure. That was done. And something else that I forgot to mention in the non-spoiler review that I'll mention here is that this is like true German. Like, there's no English like any type of writing, any type of
Mhm.
propaganda, any type of sign usage, like it's all in German.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that in a lot of movies that are based overseas in a different country where they speak a different language, because
Right.
it's all done in English. So that way we know what they're saying. You don't, I mean, unless you know German, you don't know what they're saying,
Yeah.
but you get the impression of what is happening.
Yep.
And so I really appreciated that. Like,
Well, even at the end, uh, I may have just misheard it, but when the Americans showed up, I don't think they were speaking English, because our cast was speaking English.
Mhm.
And when he talked to JoJo, JoJo's like, I don't understand you. And I wasn't paying enough
Ah.
attention to what the Americans said to know if it was in English or not.
Yeah.
And then, he said, like, go get out of here, like some very simple phrase that in retrospect he was probably saying in German.
Yeah.
So I that's something I would want to revisit on the second viewing, is what the American actually said to him, because it was indistinguishable to me, but I just wasn't paying that much attention to it at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's definitely a good pickup. I didn't pick that up. So
Yeah.
that was good. All right. Awesome.
And even in the background in that same scene, there was a German soldier. He wasn't begging. I don't know what he was begging for. Basically, not to be taken back and being shot, essentially.
Mhm.
And he was using very simple phrases. So I think it was the same thing, that he's trying to speak to the Americans in a way that they understand, because
Yeah.
they're not actually speaking English
Mhm.
that we've been hearing this whole movie. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good observation. I did not catch that. So on the second go around,
Yeah. Look out for that.
we'll have to look out for that for sure.
Yes. What about you? What do you rate it?
I think it will be an A for me. This is one of the best comedies, in my opinion, of the year. So far, I'm trying to think back on comedies that we've seen. But this one's pretty good, pretty high up there. So I should have had more faith in Taika Waititi.
Yay.
Film skills, but it's just something I want to tread lightly on. But I'm really glad I went and saw it, and I understand the whole premise, and
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Good. Yay. I'm glad.
All right. Glad you talked me into seeing it.
Yes.
All right, everybody. That is our spoiler review of the movie JoJo Rabbit. Thanks for Heather for joining us today on the podcast. Really appreciate it, and making me go see the movie. Really appreciate that. If you like our channel, please like and subscribe. That way you stay caught up on our content. We also have a non-spoiler review of this movie up on our channel too. I can leave the link in the description bar down below. But thanks for listening, and thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you again next time. I'm just a hot mess.
I know.
I would say non-spoiler for the spoiler review.
And then you said spoiler alert in the spoiler review.
I don't know how to podcast.
It's okay. No worries. You only have a channel. Don't worry about it.
I'm learning. I'll just cut that part out. It's okay. It's like I'll cut all this out unless it makes it in the blooper reel.
What?
Was that Oliver growling just now? Sorry, he wants to be a part of the podcast so bad. He does.
I have so much to say.
No, hey, say it loud, say it proud. So, all right. Anyways, JoJo Rabbit.
Yes.
So, hello everybody. Welcome back to our. Damn it. Cut.